Baseball is back. The Sweet 16 is whittling itself down. The NBA moves forward with European exploration. And Omaha has a Silver Lake. Top of the morning to you on this Friday, March 28th. I'm SBJ senior writer Joe Lemire bringing you the Morning Buzzcast. Thanks for tuning in on a busy sports weekend. MLB officially started with two highly celebrated games in Japan last week, before yesterday's more traditional opening day. Quite possibly my favorite day of the year. It is, to me and many others, the true first day of spring. There was a hiccup yesterday with MLB TV, the national streaming service, suffering an outage of nearly 2 hours while 10 games were concurrently underway. But that had a small silver lining for me. The whip-around show, MLB Beginning, was the one product working. It's not something I regularly watch, but it was terrific yesterday, often showing 4 live games in a split screen and always toggling away from commercial breaks to show first at-bats or first pitches of the season, whether it's young stars like Paul Skeens or Bobby Witt Jr., or veterans on new teams like Juan Soto and Garrett Crochet. Earlier on opening day, MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred made the media rounds, telling Forbes about a possible reunion with ESPN that, you never say never. Manfred acknowledged disappointment about the network's promotion of baseball, such as less baseball tonight. He also more explicitly tied the expanded playoffs to the network, saying of ESPN, quote, "In order to get the last deal done, we actually created a round of playoffs because they wanted playoff baseball, and we didn't have anything else to give them. That was very successful," he added. Manfred added to Mad Dog Radio on Sirius XM, "Did we want to be partners with them? Yes. But taking less money? And look, I'll say this publicly because I said it to them. They stepped up for the NBA. They stepped up for football." Those don't sound like the comments of a partnership on the verge of reuniting, but perhaps it's purposeful messaging to get the point across. In those interviews yesterday, Manfred also noted that there has been strong incoming interest in the rights that ESPN has indicated it's opting out of. There is a possibility of some components, to remind you that Sunday Night Baseball, the Home Run Derby, and the Wildcard Playoff round, getting split up. Prior to the next media rights negotiations, Manfred noted that one goal is to make content discovery more friendly for fans, noting that currently a Yankees fan, for example, would need 7 different services to see all 162 games. For those keeping score at home, I believe that's Yes Network, Prime Video, those 2 for local coverage, and then national games on ESPN, Fox, FS1, Roku, and Apple TV+. In a separate appearance on Colin Cowherd's show, Manfred again discussed the possibility of a salary cap in the next collective bargaining agreement, saying, quote, "There are 5 major North American sports, counting soccer. 4 of them have a cap. We don't." But he was careful not to say that it was an official position, noting there are 2 years left in the CBA, and decisions still are forthcoming. I'll interject with a programming note here. For those who have not already registered for CAA World Congress of Sports next month in Nashville, please do so. I'll mention that Commissioner Manfred will be joining the conference and joining me for a fireside chat. Also that same morning of World Congress will be NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, sitting down with the ESPN commentator and architect of the Warriors championship run, Bob Myers. Silver addressed the media as well on Thursday during a press conference after the Board of Governors meeting. The biggest takeaway was obvious immediately as he took the dais alongside FIBA's Secretary General to discuss that the NBA would be moving forward with the exploration of a league in Europe. While it was not an announcement that would definitely be happening, more of a, quote, modeling phase, as Silver put it, the intent is substantial enough that the league followed up with a press release indicating that the NBA and FIBA will continue discussing the possibility with prospective investors, teams, arena developers, and commercial partners. Of note is that the League and International Federation would work to ensure that the new NBA-backed circuit is integrated into the current European landscape. Participating clubs could also remain in their current domestic leagues. On other topics, Silver said he believed progress had been made to dissuade teams from tanking, but there was more work to be done, particularly at the end of the season, when there was a strong draft class. He also described the new All-Star format as a miss, and that it would be re-evaluated with NBC taking on that game starting in next year's rights deal. Silver also said that the sale of the Minnesota Timberwolves to Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lowry was on hold as Glenn Taylor considers appealing last month's arbitration ruling that granted the men the additional time needed to make the final payment for control of the franchise. Over to college basketball, where chalk prevailed last night, but not that easily. Texas Tech needed overtime to beat John Calipari's 10-seeded Arkansas. And Arizona held close against Duke, but Cooper Flagg was just too much. 30 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, only further cementing the superlative year he's had as the top college player and top NBA draft prospect. His stardom and, love him or hate him, the Duke brand, will only keep fans watching this tournament. The Women's Sweet 16 tips off this afternoon with a Duke-UNC matchup and followed by Dawn Staley, South Carolina, as both tournaments have been attracting strong ratings to date and will only continue to do so as long as these blue-chip teams remain. A few more newsy notes. Peyton Manning's Omaha Productions, meanwhile, sold a 10% stake of the media company at a valuation of more than $750 million. Acquiring the equity was the Silver Lake-backed fund led by Patrick Whitesell, the former executive chairman of Endeavor. Omaha Productions is the first investment of this new financial vehicle. In news shared earlier this month by NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman at Tech Week, there will be a separate alt-cast following Alex Ovechkin as he pursues Wayne Gretzky's all-time goals record. The details were crystallized yesterday. The OviCast will be streamed on ESPN Plus with an isolated camera on the Russian star, with his stats in a box on the screen, and the traditional broadcast also visible. The Capitals have 6 games remaining this season, with ESPN carrying 5, and the OviCast will be active on ESPN Plus for all 5 of those games. A leading micro-betting firm and Venue struck a deal to provide its predictive analytics to the WNBA yesterday. Venue is the supplier of the on-air odds for Apple's MLB Friday night games, and it works with NASCAR and the NBA. The Basketball League invested in Venue after the startup participated in NBA Launchpad. But this, notably, is the company's first deal in women's sports and signals the growing interest in fan engagement and that maturing market around women's sports. Lastly, football is back tonight with the UFL opener. The Houston Roughnecks are hosting the St. Louis Battlehawks at 8 p.m. Eastern on Fox and played at the home football stadium for the University of Houston. As our Ben Fisher wrote in this week's magazine, the UFL has been gaining traction with TV viewership. ESPN is its other media partner alongside Fox, but is now making more of an effort in local markets to increase attendance. I also wrote one more story about its technology innovations this week, highlighting its use of MindFly point-of-view cameras that players will wear at times this year. The continued lean into sideline video, where players will be able to telestrate and analyze plays that just happened while reviewing it on an iPad, an access that is unheard of in the NFL. And the UFL is also undertaking what one tech provider called, quote, the holy grail of sports tech problems. That is, figuring out how to automate the spotting of the ball after plays. This clearly is a hot-button issue. There's the Josh Allen Buffalo Bills play against the Kansas City Chiefs that got a lot of attention, but it's a really challenging issue. The UFL and its predecessor leagues have for years automated the chain gang with a virtual measurement using cameras from optical tracking company Bolt 6. Now, the UFL is also putting sportable sensors inside the footballs for another positional data input. I spoke to UFL officiating boss Dean Blandino about it. He explained the challenges. Obviously, there's plenty of occlusion from so many players, but there's also that need to know not only where the ball is at all times, but where it is at the exact moment a player is ruled down by contact or his forward progress is stopped. By triangulating the cameras and the ball sensor, the UFL will be testing this in the background with hopes of having something workable. Blandino didn't want to commit, but he thinks maybe in the next 2 to 3 years. Certainly, innovations in the UFL tend to find their way to the NFL with a bit more testing and a bit longer on the timeline. Thanks again for tuning in to the Morning Buzzcast. This is Joe Lemire signing off and wishing you all a great weekend of baseball, college round ball, spring football, and whatever else is in store.